Tell Renee about the Memphis tapes.
There was a program in Memphis.
Well, it actually is an international program run by a group of people close to the State Department.
And there was a bunch of discussion groups.
Well,
People would get together and take a particular topic
Well,
of the day.
Bess, annually, they would have the major foreign policy problems or questions of the day. And there was a discussion leader, and people would discuss these every week for a period of maybe 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks or something. Discuss a different problem each week. And it was, the State Department was in favor. It was kind of supposedly nonpartisan. And in our Rowley Library, which was the library in the rural area we were in of Memphis, the history teacher from the high school was the discussion leader for the first of these that I attended. When I walked in, she was seated at a table in front of the classroom, maybe 20, 30 people in the room, including me. Standing around her, standing up, were 4 to 6 men shouting at her, "You communist, you're doing blah, 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 blah," really berating her. And what was the statement they used? It was Jesus. If Jesus knew what you were doing, he would destroy you, and you're... And finally I'd had it, so I stood up and, oh, for God's sakes, I said, everybody knows Jesus was a communist in Memphis. So by the next day, it was in the newspapers, the teacher running the show in danger of being fired, so she withdrew because she was going to lose her job.
Wow.
And they called me to see if I wanted to take over the discussions, which I did. And so this was something that every week, in a sense, they'd be laying for me to see
what nonsense he would spew
and
this week.
The thing that I did that saved me is I brought a tape recorder with me, turned it on, and then started my program. And whenever anybody would get up, I'd ask them to identify yourself, etc. That kept things at least generally somewhat civil. They tried everything going. For instance, I forget.
What's the part about hiding the note in the potted plant?
Oh, yes. Somebody said, last week after we left the library, in the base of the American flag, pronounced American flag, was a note. And the note had a description or a definition of terrorism or something like that, communism. And this was found in the base of the American flag. So I got up on the next night and started the thing and then said, "Oh, wait!" Everybody, what's going on? And I went over to the American flag and I took it out of the, everybody, what are we doing with the American flag? Put it aside. And I put a piece of paper in there. And I read, "Ivan, some nut is checking the base of the American flag. Please be careful about something like that. He's making fun of me. This went on. It got to be quite a cause célèbre. The local college was sending their students down, political science students. Our kids were there. I remember once I started the program, somehow I had a baton in my hand. And I said, aha, through the belly button. That hit the newspaper. As, a pornographic statement by etc. And before school children was Wendy. And it was around the fourth week that the newspaper finally sent reporters down. The big newspaper, night papers, I believe. And they started picking off these people one at a time, making sure that, John, don't tell us anything you want us to know. I mean, if you're a communist, that's fine, but don't tell me you're not. So I didn't, to speak of it. But they really knocked off these people. Once they were hit with publicity, they left. And we got all the way through to the end. And I was very proud of the fact that we made the end, finally, after all that. And I remember that the great big woman had been the head of the Birch Society there. She was an old-time leader in the community. Mrs., do you remember her name? And I made fun of her once or twice because I knew what was going on. And she was quoted and heard to say, he's a very evil man, but intelligent.
And
Which I was pleased.
is it a figment of my overactive imagination, or were there bodyguards watching over us children because there were threats?
Yes, not only over
I
you.
had called the sheriff's office because I was really worried about his life. You have to know what the temper of the times was. It's not like it is today. People were just up in arms against communism. They went berserk.
Well, it was a crazy time.
Somebody would try to save him.
Well, we probably weren't far off. People were, it's such an emotional issue for that time frame. And it really was. It was just an emotional response coming from everybody. It wasn't.
So I called and I said, I'm really worried about what can happen at this last meeting. Can you have someone help me? And you did.
I didn't know about it, but they were guarding me and
Wow.
See, when I've told the story, I've said they were following us to school and taking care of us and stuff. So I've exaggerated as the years have gone, huh?
So
Doggone.
you have an overactive imagination, and you can't call me a drama queen anymore.
I can call you anything I want.
You created me or made me as you see fit.
Uh-huh.